Dante guarded by fellow rookie Zach LaVine. Gets a pick from Gobert, turns the corner to his left, lobs it to Rudy at the rim, and it's an Australian to French connection for two.
This is Enes Favors. We are ready to tip off. Are you? Let's do this.
Tip-off comes your direction. We'll take a look at the NBA 5, what happened last night as it shook up again in the West and the East becomes more clear as we walk down the home stretch. A change the NBA must make and a new project. What should they shoot? It's all coming up on today's edition of Tip-Off. Pow. Hope you're well. I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. It's the 25th of March. Whenever you might be listening, it was the 25th of March when I did this. So hope you're well. Whether you're catching this on your way in this morning to the office, first thing, whether you've gotten to the office, is in this way to distract you through the day, or whether you're mowing the lawn this weekend or something of the sort. Glad to have you tuned in to the broadcast. If you have not listened to the Derek Favors one-on-one, please do. In fact, do it now. Make sure you're going to get it done. Stop listening to this. It won't be nearly as good as that. I'm just telling you right now, there's no chance that half-awake me, 6-something in the morning, is going to be better than that interview. So go listen to that. That's good. Good stuff, particularly if you're a Jazz fan. And a lot of people have tweeted out with @Derek Favors on it, thanking him for doing that interview. Gosh, I couldn't thank you enough for that. That's huge. Oh, I don't know if he reads his mentions, but if he does, how awesome of you to send out a thank you that he saw that lets him know that we appreciate him opening up and sharing who he is as a person and lets you be a better basketball fan. Frankly, it's huge. That's probably bigger than when Zach Lowe or somebody else comes on. They're all nice. You know those guys check their mentions. No one else is a freak like me. And I actually have been – you got me today because I'm going through trying to find people. Actually, I searched Derek Favors so that I could see anybody who's done that so I could kind of retweet them out and get it out there. So appreciate it. All right, let's get right to it. Let's get to the thing we call the NBA 5.
This is Rodney Hood, and you are locked on Jazz.
Few thoughts here. First, Flip Saunders took a pretty mammoth shot at Craig and Matt Harpering after the game the other night. I didn't comment on it yesterday. I knew about it because I hadn't heard what Matt and Craig said. I've now read the transcript off some Minnesota people. I'm assuming they're right. If they're right, Flip Saunders is way out of line. And it really always is laughable to me and somewhat pisses me off when coaches go do exactly what, if the media does, they lose their mind. In other words, when the media goes and reports something that somebody said to them that without them checking whether it's true or not, and they go out and make the comments that sources say, and then the source turns out to be wrong, it's detrimental, it's bad, it's poor reporting, it's lazy, it's all those things, and coaches go pissed and the media. What's the difference between Flip Saunders claiming he had 25 tacks? I'm going to call that right now. I have no idea. I'm doing the same thing. I'm calling that question right there. If what Bowler and Matt said is accurate, there's just no way 25 people texted him. It wasn't that offensive. But Matt's first comment is, I'm not saying Minnesota's tanking. Now, he does say but, which often eliminates everything said afterwards. But he says, I'm not saying they're tanking. And then goes into a larger discussion about the concept of tanking. Okay. There's some discussions of whether that's I guess you could argue that that's a talk show topic instead of but they're having a conversation during a game. What bums me out about what Flip did is he throws two guys I like, in Matt and Bowler, under the bus without hearing it himself. And if the transcript, which is all I've read, is accurate, not worthy of being said they should be fired. Really way out of line. Say someone should be fired for that without having heard what they said. Okay? Just leaving it at that. But I don't want to make it a bigger deal than it is, but I think it's worth pointing out that the comments were being made that then circulated to the national media without having heard what was said. Okay? We're good there. If the league is talking about changing schedules, we've talked about this a lot. It sounds most likely that we'll probably play 82 games. If we're trying to get rid of stuff, we'll probably start earlier and later. This is the one they've got to get rid of. We've got to get rid of playing the late TNT or ESPN game, traveling and playing the next day. That there's just no way Portland is going to give you a good product tonight. They might still win. They're a veteran team. They're pretty injured. If they don't have Batum, Aldridge, and Kaman and Wesley Matthews, they're missing 57% of their offense. So they may not. But if the Jazz are missing Gordon Hayward and Rodney Hood, then that gets to be right. I mean, you got it. But there's just no reason why Portland should be getting on a plane 6 hours ago and then flying here and arriving at probably 3:30 and being expected to put on a product that's worthy of being purchased. That's one that the league's got to change. It's actually even got me enough. I have my concept of what I think the league should do. I think I've shared this. I think we should play our division 4 times and then use the other divisions as pods, move them around. You play one of them 4 times as well, I think. And the others 2. And you actually come up with 76 games. And I haven't really figured out my other 6. It has a little bit to do with this if the NBA is going to go to some soccer-style tournaments. But that's my version of what we should do with the league. The problem with my version is the impact that if Portland is playing, because you're not playing a Western Conference, other conference just rotates 1 through 5. And so every 5 years, Portland would have to go to Miami twice. That's brutal. Miami would have to go there twice, and the travel is a big deal. But this is the one the league should get rid of, if they can, because it's not productive for anybody involved. It doesn't serve you well. Interesting games last night has some really big impacts on the playoffs last night. Milwaukee wins a buzzer beater over Miami, which seems to solidify, you never know, but it feels like it solidifies Milwaukee to 6. What gets interesting is that it means in all most likely scenario, lots can change. Miami could be 7. Excuse me. Cleveland is 2. So we could get LeBron versus Dwayne Wade, Miami and Cleveland in the first round of the playoffs. We got to admit that would be fairly interesting. There's some good games tonight, by the way. Miami and Boston play. Miami is 32-38. Boston is 31-39, and that becomes a good game because they're battling for an Eastern Conference playoff spot. Toronto had another bad loss last night. They have just not been right for a while. And Oklahoma City and San Antonio both played last night and both play again tonight. At least they both didn't play the late game, but San Antonio was on TNT. Monte Ellis went 4 of 22 a la Trey Burke and answered with a 16 of 27 night for 38 points. It's another one of those nights that kind of makes you go, about what's happening in the Western Conference. But I would say this, if that's what it takes for Dallas to win is Monte Ellis to have that night, maybe not. Monte on the pick and roll against San Antonio, the way they guard it, gets great looks. He's always played San Antonio very well. I think he's averaging over 30 points a game against San Antonio. But it's getting interesting. The Clippers are walking toward the 3rd seed pretty easily right now, or at least walking that way. Patrick Beverley could be out for the year for Houston, which would be a crushing blow to them just when they get Dwight Howard back. And now Portland, who has lost 5 in a row, is sliding and likely going to get to 6. Clippers, I would think, handle Portland pretty well. San Antonio handles Houston pretty well. Memphis handles Dallas pretty well. Golden State handles Oklahoma City. And suddenly the first round is just not that interesting, or as interesting as we thought it was going to be in the West. Oklahoma City and Enes Kanter did it again last night. It is. I got to say, I'm happy for Enes. As a Jazz fan, there is a level where I've got to feel like at some point this is getting hard to swallow. He really is just terrific. Last night against the Lakers, who he always plays well against, he had 26, 16, and 4. He also had 4 turnovers. But he's really give him credit. He has embraced this opportunity. He's playing as better than he's ever played before. His last 2 games are 26 and 15s. He's done that before. But I've said this a lot about him. He's a momentum player, and the momentum is on his side right now, and he is playing as well as we've ever seen him. And he feels good about it. Playing with Westbrook has helped, and they've moved where he's playing on the floor. But his last 4 games, really, 65% shooting, 23 points a game. Absolutely incredible. And, maybe does for a minute kind of make you go, huh? Did we make a mistake? I don't know if we made a mistake. I think we moved forward as a franchise. We weren't going to match his contract. He's showing why he was going to get paid. He's going to get paid. It wasn't a deal we were going to play, and we got what we could out of it. It's an unfortunate circumstance.
This is Rudy Gobert, and you are Locked on Jazz.
And that's the reason why we did that. I worked on a project yesterday. Oh, let me touch on one thing. Baden Dowsett wrote a big piece on Salt City Hoops in regards to the play of sounds like on the play of Trey and some of his shooting woes. I couldn't figure out. I thought this was really interesting. I didn't know this, and I can't figure out what I think of it. So here's the stat: 102 players at all positions have attempted 250 or more uncontested jumpers. So that's 10 feet or more. No defender within 4 feet. And Trey's the second worst in the NBA at 33%. So does that mean, so that's terrible, right? Okay, but I'm just thinking about the future. Does that mean he can't shoot, or does that mean like he's really got something seriously wrong with his shot that could be fixed, and it would be reasonable to expect that he actually moves that number back up to the middle of the pack, and if he moves it back up to the middle of the pack, then he becomes a pretty okay player, right? There's no debate anymore. We can stop beating around the bush. His 37% shooting and 32 from 3 while not going to the free throw line isn't good enough. So the question then gets to be, is that just who he is, or is there some way you can look at something and say, oh, if this is rectified, then he's got a chance? And this may be it. Like, I read this at my first glance, was like, oh my gosh. And then my second thought was, wait a sec, that's great news, because he should be able to make open shots. Like, he's a guard, he's shot a lot, he's a great free throw shooter, he has a good touch. He should be able to make his shots. Now, I think the pressure of being put in the circumstances put into, you watch his shots, sometimes his feet kick out, sometimes they don't, sometimes he's putting the ball on the ground, sometimes don't, sometimes the ball leaves his, it's all over the map right now. But that's fixable if he puts in the work. Maybe that's a really good sign. Maybe as horrific as that sounds, that's actually the sign of, oh, well, we fix that and get him back, then he becomes, all right. I worked on a project yesterday I want to share with you. I haven't figured out yet what I fully found out. but I want to share it with you. It's very early stages. So the project is, what should he shoot? So what you have here, and for those of you who are on audio only, I'll try to make sense. I have 4 players: Gordon Hayward, Trey Burke, Steph Curry, and James Harden. I'd love any suggestions on this. This is really in the formative stages, and there's some problems with it. The primary problem of it is that this doesn't add up to 100% of their shots. I need to get the shot clock off data and some other things. But so here is Gordon Hayward is taking, for example, 21% of his shots with 7 or less seconds on the shot clock. Here's the point of this. Early shot clock shooting, effective field goal percentage is 57. 18 to 22 seconds on the shot clock, it's 58.6. This is effective field goal percentage, weighing 3-point shots. Early in the shot clock, 15 to 18 is 51. 7 to 15, the middle use is 49. 4 to 7 is 46. And 0 to 4 is 39.6. We use, as a team, 11% of our possessions for the season in the final 4 seconds. Since the All-Star break, it's up to 14%. Okay. Is there a chance that some of our guys are better players than they're getting credit for, because when we finally get some more talent and start playing earlier in the shot clock, they'll get better looks and be a better player? So I'm taking the frequency of which our players use their possessions. So, for example, Gordon uses 21% of his possessions in the final 7 seconds of the shot clock. Trey uses 28% of his possessions in the final 7 seconds of the shot clock, the 2 singularly least efficient times to shoot, and Trey uses 12% in the final 4 seconds. Contrast that to Steph Curry, who uses 7.3% of his possessions in the final 7 seconds of the shot clock, only 2.9% of them in the final 4. And James Harden actually uses 20% of his possessions in the final 7 seconds of the shot clock. So Harden, who does it a lot, he's their go-to guy. They give him the ball, make him make a play. And he's actually pretty good at it. In fact, in the 4 to 7 second rate, he's unbelievable. The league average is 46, and he's hitting 62% of his effective field goal percentage at that point. And late, the league average is 39, he's at 44. So using that data, I believe I have discovered the expected effective field goal percentage of each player based on where the team's offense has them shooting in the shot clock. Okay? So the league average is, what's interesting here is, to me, and the only reason I think there might be a problem with my data somewhere, so there's a little caveat here that I'm trying to figure out, and I cannot figure out if I've done anything wrong, is the league average is 50%, and none of these guys are at 50%. So I'm trying to figure out who's at 50%, or how it gets to 50%. And I haven't had enough time to do 100 players. But so Gordon Hayward, expected effective field goal percentage is 47.4. Okay, below league average, yet his is well above that. Trey Burke, who is effective field goal percentage, is 43, I think, and feels awful because the league average is 50. Where he shoots, he should only be hitting 46% effective field goal percentage because of how low he is in the shot clock. Okay, this would be another one that, I guess we could start fiddling around, but if you suddenly gave Trey Burke Steph Curry's shooting, we'd have to change the way we play. But Steph Curry's effective field goal percentage, let me try that again, expected effective field goal percentage is 49.7. Trey's is 46.1. Gordon's is 47.4. James Harden is right at 47.1. So because of the way they play, Steph should be shooting better than these guys by a considerable amount. And he is way above average also. So just an interesting way to look at it, that really Trey Burke, because of his shot clock distribution of shots, isn't going to shoot well. He's below what he should, but he's at 46.1. His expected effective field goal percentage. Gordon's expected effective field goal percentage at 47.4 makes what he's done this year even more impressive. Make sense? All right, I'll let you chew on that one as we wrap it up. Jazz could be very likely without Rodney Hood and Gordon Hayward again today, and that is a tough one for the Jazz. That is today's edition of Tip Off.